last we did was the 9th verse. Machitta madhyata pranaha bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nitya tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Comprehensive sadhana for one who has developed his mind and intellect. Speaking of me refers to karma yoga, where you engage your organs of action and organs of perception. You use your physical body to attune to the self. So when you use your action to unite to the higher, is known as karma yoga. Karma is action, yoga is union. So when I use my action to remove the impurities and get to the self, is known as karma yoga. With the mind resting in me refers to the mind surrendering to Brahman, which is known as bhakti yoga. So your mind, emotions, you don't get swayed by any feelings. Bhakti yoga, enlightening one another, refers to constant study or discussion. Abhyasa refers to jnana yoga. So when one does the, as we said, the sadhana of karma, bhakti, jnanam, the quality control, you reach a state where you are contented with whatever the world provides you. So you are, with reference to the external world, you're quite contented. You're not affected by whatever the world throws at you, whatever it be. Shanti, you're satisfied with the world. Ramanti is delighted within. He is reveling within himself. Only such a person whose mind is contented is ready for meditation, which is covered in the 10th verse. All right. So I hope you all can hear me. Sanjay, all clear? Verse 10, please. Verse 10 covered or no? Finished verse 10, no? Huh? We just start. Are you able to hear me here? Speaker is gone here. Gone. Hello. 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 Okay, Kada. Online, you can hear me?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, with break.
We'll chant verse 10, please. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhir yogam tam येन मामुपयान्ति ते तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धिर्योगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते. To those ever steadfast, lot of disturbance here. To those ever steadfast, worshipping me with love, I give the Buddhi Yoga, the union of intellect by which they come to me. Okay? Or normal you're hearing, huh? Okay. Right. Good. So a mind which is established, one of the important requirements we mention of spiritual, in the spiritual path, is offloading the bulk of your desires and vasanas. When a person has offloaded the bulk of his desires and vasanas through the practice of karma, bhakti, jnanam, only then does your mind become steadfast. Otherwise, the mind has many avenues to run after. When there is no desire to run after, the mind doesn't go there. When the mind has desires, it will run in different quarters. When the desire itself is removed, and removal of desire is simply like many people treat, is like if you see a plant which is not required, or you want to remove the weeds, I can take a clipper and keep clipping the weeds from the ground level. It doesn't appear, it seems to be no more. But since the roots are very much rooted, it will grow again. It will continue to grow. It's not dead. You're just clipping it. So many people, what they try to do is they keep clipping the desires by getting away from the areas of manifestation. Means they get away from the world. What happens when you get away from the world? The desires goes into an unmanifested. Just because it's not seen, they think it is dead. But actually, the vasana is the root. So if you want to really kill a desire, you must take a shovel, clear the soil, and remove the primary root and the secondary roots. Even if there are any lingering second roots, the plant will come up, or the weed will grow again. You have to totally uproot. So ensure that the roots are uprooted. That's when a plant or a tree or a weed is dead. So what karma, bhakti, jnanam does, the spiritual sadhana, what it does is it burns the vasana from its root. So there is no residue. There is nothing there for it to grow. So that's how the vasanas get uploaded. And only a mind which is completely offloaded of such vasanas and desires, the mind becomes steadfast. This is a long-term process. In fact, a lifetime process. It's not that easy to get rid of the vasanas, because you have put aneka janma to acquire them. How much effort you have put in, you must put something equivalent to get rid of it, no? Not that easy to get rid of that. Therefore, the karma, bhakti, jnanam, sorry? Dirgha kalena, long. So it's a long-term process. So you become steadfast. To those ever steadfast, steadfast is when you offload your desires. Worshipping me with love, I give the Buddhi Yoga. That's where the intellect comes in to perform meditation. As we define, meditation is the art of keeping the mind on that thought with the help of the intellect. by which they come to me. So meditation is the process of the culminating journey between you and realization. The culminating journey. It's the last phase, large bridge you cross between mortality to immortality. And once you reach that state of realization, they say you become one with the self. That becoming is like a river merges with the ocean. That a very famous example given in the Shastras, river merging with the ocean. So when the river merges with the ocean, what happens? Two things happen when the river merges. The river loses the identity or the individuality which it had till then. It could be the mighty Ganges or the river Nile or Godavari or Brahmaputra or whatever. It had an identity. It had a name. So that it loses its identity and instantly it becomes that vast sheet of water. It becomes the totality. There is no birth and death to the river. Once it becomes the ocean, there is no more birth and death. It is not subjected to any change. So you have to keep the previous couple of verses in mind. In the 8th verse, what are the two words he used there? Eighth or ninth? What we are trying to refer to is the thought flow which is built. When you prepare your mind and intellect, which he said, endowed with devotion, perform the karma bhakti jnanam, get rid of your desires, meditate, and then realize. And there are no shortcuts. This is the only way. This is the only way to get to the self. No other way, sir. 11, please. Tesham mevanukampartha ahamajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatma bhavasthaha jnanadipena bhasvata. Teshamevanukampartha ahamajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatma bhavasthaha jnanadipena bhasvata. Out of mere compassion for them dwelling as the self, I destroy the darkness born of ignorance by the shining lamp of wisdom. Jnanadipena bhasvata. Out of mere compassion for them. So you see, this verse can be interpreted from a devotional perspective or intellectual perspective. So he's accommodating even the devotional class of people here. How can Lord's grace be preferential? When I pray, am I not asking Lord for his grace onto me? When you, as a devotee, ask for the Lord's grace, is it not being selfish? When I say, oh Lord, please look into me, look into my problems, please relieve me of my issues I've been suffering. I've been a great devotee of you. I love you so much. I've offered so much to you. And we get into a what? Businessman's mode. we have a deal with God. You try to bribe God, you try to personalize God as if to seek a personal favor. That's what, these are the areas where perhaps people have taken it, out of mere compassion. See, God has compassion for me. And the Madri. And I dispel the darkness. Who? Lord Krishna himself is saying, I dispel the darkness in you. Who? What more you want? Krishna himself is saying. So these are the phrases. People conveniently interpret it for their thing, for their convenience, saying the Lord is a personalized entity or a individual who is trying to satisfy your personal interest or looking into your personal needs and demands. But when you look at it from an intellectual point of view, God's compassion is universal. Isn't it? How can God have any preferences to you? Shama, God has any preference to you? Oh, that's what I think so, Guruji. Because he's been very kind to me. Huh? That means he's very unkind to me. Huh? Unkind to others. Huh? Can we say so? Intellectually, when you look at it, sun rays is all pervading. Sunrise is everywhere. It's not that sun is pervading more some places and less some places. It's everywhere. No? But I have restricted it by putting a barrier or a shelter, and there's no light here. Therefore, I have to put on artificial light. Imagine I remove the roof. We'll not be able to sit here. It's so hot. So just like sunlight is all pervading, the compassion of the Lord or the self is universal. I put a barrier and there is no sunlight. So what is a barrier where you don't receive the so-called grace of the Lord? It is my own ego. As some people interpret, no, ego is what you have edged God out. Isn't it? You have kicked out God out of your life because of your own ego. When ego surfaces and manifests, what happens? Wherever there is an expression of ego, what happens? First, what happens is it separates you from the world. I and the world are separate. There is a separation. Where there is no ego, there is a unison. We become one. And where there is an ego, there is a curtain. There is a veil. In the sense, there is a blockage. Nothing, no one is approachable to you. Nothing comes to you. So it's an impediment. So ego is a barrier between me and God. So if the God's grace or God's providence doesn't guide you, it's because of your own ego. It's like I have put a barrier where the sunlight, which is all pervading, doesn't come into this room. Or I put a blackout curtain and the complete room is darkened. I have put a limitation. I have put a barrier. Similarly, in the spiritual field, what is a barrier between me and God is my own self-created ego, ahankar. So when I have an ahankar, there is no divinity. Nobody can help you. Can anybody help you? Can talk to you? Nobody can talk to you also. I know everything. You're not receptive, isn't it? So out of mere compassion, so from a devotional perspective, he says Krishna himself destroys the darkness. So when you go through the phase of meditation, the Lord says, I dispel the darkness, which is compared to the shining lamp of wisdom. I dispel the darkness born of ignorance. So when the ignorance is destroyed, what happens? The self reveals itself. Light, when I light the lamp of wisdom, he says the ignorant darkness is gone. ignorance destroyed, the self reveals itself. You destroy the ego, destroy the finite, it reveals itself. The self reveals itself. You don't have to do anything for the self to reveal. It is always there. Don't we say, example of a brass vessel, the brilliance is there in the brass vessel. I only have to remove the ignorance, no? Remember the example you gave? I have a brass vessel. The brass vessel is tarnished. When I polish and clean the brass vessel, I am not, what am I doing? I am merely removing the tarnish which is covering the inherent brilliance. So the spiritual sadhana is only to remove the dirt and the barrier between me and the Godhood which is within me. Ego also is ignorance. Another expression of ignorance. So, in fact, as you go up the spiritual ladder, you feel people have no ahankar. The ego drops. I'm so touched by, he was just narrating an experience of the great Mother Teresa. Please correct me, sir. He was talking about how Mother Teresa had gone to a Marwadi man. She had gone to a Marwadi man for seeking some help for the charity work she was doing to take care of the people, the leprous and the orphanage people who she was taking care of. So she went to a wealthy businessman you can think of. She asked, can you do something for us? And apparently that man was chewing betel nut for a long time. And he just spit in the palm. He spit at her. And what she did, she put everything in one hand and she said, okay, this is for me. Now what about my kids? He took all the spit in one hand and, okay, you spit, I'll take this now, give something for my kids. There you go, that man was he melted by that great act of the great Mother Teresa, almost became a follower, served her and her cause. So you're not offended by that act. But where there is ego, it bounces back. We give it back to the world because we have an ego. And where the ego is more pronounced, it creates constant friction with the world. In fact, there is a simple way of describing what ego does. As I said, the first thing the ego does is it separates you from the world. So if this is ego, you on one side and the world on the other side. When the ego is maximum, there's maximum friction, separation between you and the world. Let's say I have reduced my ego a little bit. So what happens? My friction between the you and the world also reduces, isn't it? I go further. So this area is more. I go further. Then comes a point where I become the center around which the whole world revolves. There is no ego at all. I have become one with the world. There is no you and the world separate from me. If you are successful, I'm happy at your success. I don't feel envious at your success because there is an identification with you, you as one and me. Why should I feel envious about you? That oneness starts expressing. But when the ego is maximum, that doesn't happen. There's a constant competition and unhealthiness with the world. Now you have to find out which stage are you. One, which state are you? Where are you in the ladder? As one grows, you might use one.
Ego as forced awareness or the forced self. It is not the natural self. Ego is nothing but forced awareness or forced self. Very simple and very beautiful explanation. I thought it just
Forced
awareness or the forced self. It is not your actual self.
It's not your real self.
Mukuta, what we call the mask.
False self.
False self.
If there is no ego, there is no. I can see a lot of Western jargon in it. I can smell mutton being chicken being cooked neighbor's house. I can smell the fragrance. And the Madri, Western philosophy, I can smell in his sayings. I don't eat chicken, but neighbor is cooking chicken and mutton, I can smell, no? And the Madri. Where I am teaching Bhagavad Gita, where you say ego should not be there. A little bit ego must be there for your growth. You have taken from there. Sir, in the Shastras, ahankar is a negative quality. There's nothing as a positive ego. There's nothing as a positive ego. You may coin it. You may rephrase it to something else. You may be connoting it to something else, but ahankar means negative. Ahankara merukodada. Zero ahankar. That's why they say when you grow, when you a real spiritual man, they say you become like a child. They compare to a balavat. A spiritual man is like a child. Now, what is the comparison of a child here? When you compare a spiritual man to a child, Sanjay, oh yeah, spiritual people are also very mischievous like children. Don't say that. Very naughty, they become like children. No, it's not that. What aspect are you comparing?
Is it the aspect of how a child just naturally shares what they have with? Oh. Hello. Oh.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, Guruji. Is it the aspect of how a child just naturally shares with other children? They're just there's a oneness between. They don't just look at the I principle. Is that?
Sorry, there's some disturbance at our end. We're not able to hear you clearly. Will you try speaking again?
So is it the aspect of how a child just sees themselves as one with other children? They just share what they have.
Sorry.
Okay. I'll type just to save some time, and then someone else. I might be wrong anyway. But.
So aspect of comparison of a child. What aspect of a child is compared to a spiritual man? Yeah. What aspect? That we know. What aspect of a child? Why is a child loved? Why does everybody love a child? The moment you see the innocence of a child, you go and innocence, bubbling with energy. Lack of ego. Yeah, the child has no ego. Yes, but what is ego? Ego, remember, ego arises only from your past memories. When you go back into your past, that's when your ego comes. Child has no memories of the past. Therefore, that fellow has no ego. No worries of the past. No anxiety of the future. All the time living in the present, full of energy, mischievous, innocence, vibrance, pure, no malice. Those aspects are compared to a spiritual man. Full of fun, full of mischief. Even they are, literally so. Yes, as Venkatramji also says, we always a child is in the present. Sureshji is saying easily mixes with others. Yeah. So the intellectual interpretation is when he says, I dispel the darkness, the self is self-effulgent. When the ignorance is destroyed, it doesn't need anything to lit, isn't it? It is self-effulgent. I dispel the darkness. Move on. 12. 12 and 13 together. Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Vibhum Ahustvam Rishaya Sarve Devarshi Naradastatha Asito Devalo Vyasaha Swayam Chaiva Bravishime Arjuna Uvacha Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavan Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevamajam Vibhum Ahustva Mrushaya Sarve Devarshi Naradastatha Asito Devalo Vyasaha Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Arjuna Vacha. Now only we know that Gita is a conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. In between, Arjuna keeps asking questions or keeps comments, passing his comments. He comments here. He gives his views or repeats what he has been hearing from Krishna, Lord Krishna. So Arjuna said, you are the supreme Brahman, Param Brahma, the supreme abode, Param Dhama, Pavitram. You are the supreme purifier, the eternal, the divine Purusha, the primeval God. Adidevam, Ajam, unborn, Vibhum, all pervading. All the sages have thus declared thee. Very interesting, huh? He says all the sages have declared what? Whatever he said in the previous verse. Supreme abode, supreme purifier, the eternal, primeval God, etc. All the sages have declared. Also the divine sages, Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, and so on. And you yourself say to me, because Lord Krishna also says, I am the self, he says, isn't it? Now, what do you note from this? When you read this, what do you note? So what Arjuna has done, he's just rattling off the various words he heard from Krishna. Because he's been hearing him. So he's just rattling off these various definitions of Brahman, which he has heard from the Vedas and from the Lord himself. And he also says the great sages and others have acclaimed you to be, what does he say? As divine. Acclaim thee as Bhagavan. Bhagavan means divine. So acclaim thee, who many people have acclaimed. But the sad part is, he doesn't see him as Bhagavan. The catch there is, he doesn't say, I also see your greatness. He doesn't see his greatness in him. Many people have called you Bhagavan. Many great sages have said you are great, this and that. But the sad part is, since understood that he is not able to see. Arjuna doesn't see the what? What is it Arjuna doesn't see? He doesn't see the Supreme Brahman, which is his. You are Supreme Brahman. So we say the knowledge of the Gita is ultimate. Do you really say so? Do you really feel so? Do you really believe in that this knowledge is the highest? When you say this knowledge is the highest, would you be able to sacrifice everything else and pursue this? You can't say this is the highest and say, oh, I can come for the weekend satsangs. If you have any events, I'll come. But other than that, I am very occupied my life. How can you say this is the highest and not pursue it? That means you don't really understand the value of it. Is it really the most valuable thing in your life? If it is the most valuable thing, you will pursue it. You will seek it. That defines you. But I don't do that. But yet I say, oh, the Gita is very precious. It's very grand. That means I really don't understand the value of what the Gita is saying. So even though Arjuna utters the words of Bhagavan, he says you are the supreme purifier, abode, Purusha, etc. Arjuna doesn't see the relevance of these words in his own life because he doesn't have the experience. You get it? He lacks the experience. So one of the points we learn here is you should never ever judge your superiors. Never make the mistake of judging them because you do not understand. Lord Krishna was a childhood friend of his and he is giving him the highest knowledge, yet he did not have the capacity to understand what is the caliber of the Lord. So never make the mistake of judging others. Never judge your superiors rather. Because after a certain level, it becomes very hazy. You really don't know what exactly they are talking. Understood? Superior is a guru. Because I don't understand. After a certain level, it becomes hazy. It becomes blur. So there's 100% chance of misunderstanding. Never ever judge a guru or anybody superior. So let's quickly go through the terms what Arjuna uses in the 12th verse. He says, you are the supreme Brahman, means you are the finality of everything. It is the supreme abode, means everything dwells in Brahman. Example, entire dream dwells in the waker's mind. Everything is in the waker's mind. The supreme purifier. As we said, what is it that is covering the Atman is the dirt. So when you say purifier, it's purifying the dirt. So the purifier, knowledge is the purifier of the dirt, which is the vasanas and desires. So when he says supreme purifier, it removes all your vasanas, the dirt that is covering the self. Eternal, it is beyond time. The divine Purusha, the divine being, the primeval God. Primeval God means first God, before existence, which is the uncaused cause. When you say Brahman is the primeval cause, means it is uncaused cause. Uncaused cause means not related to any other cause. It is not related to any cause and effect. Uncaused cause. Example. Standard example. So first God is the cause of the world. When you say God is the cause of the world, he's saying God is the uncaused cause. What is the uncaused cause? Just like the rope is the cause of the snake. Not like chicken is the cause of the egg, the seed is the cause of the tree. Not in that sense. That is a cause and effect. But whenever they say God is the uncaused cause, the primeval God, it means there is no cause and effect here. But yet it is the cause. In what sense? Like the rope is the cause of the snake. The root is avidya. What's the cause of avidya? Ignorance. See, Arjuna also is saying so many things he doesn't understand. I am also saying so many things which I don't understand. You're also listening so many things you don't understand. So let us quickly pass through this phase. Ilya, correct, isn't it? Let's not feel guilty about it because all of us are in the same state. None of us understand what's going on. Ashama, don't worry. We are all in the same state. None of us understand what these terms mean. Unborn means there is no birth, there is no death. To Brahman, Arjuna is saying he doesn't understand what it means. समझ में आ रहा है आशा?
प्रणाम गुरुजी. गुरुजी,
looks like there's some.
जैसे ही मुझे लगता है कि मुझे समझ में आ रहा है तो एक नया पन्ना खुल जाता है. Just when I feel I am understanding life, a new chapter is opened. A new challenge comes before me.
Can you come again, please?
जिंदगी जैसे ही मुझे लगा कि मैं तुझे समझने लगी हूं, तूने एक नया पन्ना खोल दिया. So आपका भी ऐसे ही है, जैसे we feel I've started understanding and then there's something new that comes up. So I'm trying to grapple my way through this darkness, my ignorance. Pranam.
Namaskar. A very beautiful way of saying it. When I started understanding life, a new episode has opened up.
A new challenge comes before me.
Yeah, it's so complex. So you think you understood Gita, this verse comes up. You don't understand. Something else is amiss.
But
Haresh,
it's
don't worry, Haresh.
it's new every day. It's nice. Yeah.
Hariji,
Acha hai, it's new every day.
yes. So you have an art of see these terms. Someday they'll hit us. That's all. We should have faith that they may be empty words now, but someday it'll hit you so hard. And I can relate to my own experience when I first started hearing 3 decades ago, when I started hearing these terms, fascinated me, but I didn't understand what they meant. But you keep quoting, you keep reflecting, you keep trying to, it's like a jigsaw puzzle you were saying yesterday. You start putting this bit there, that bit here, and you find suddenly a beautiful picture starts unfolding. And all the tapas, all the sadhana you do starts revealing itself. It starts becoming so clear, and exactly you start able to see what these masters are saying. You can read in between the lines. You can feel the pulse of what they are saying. So if some of us are not able to relate to it, I can relate to that feeling of the dryness or lack of relatability. But there's absolute sense what they are saying. So much sense in it. So just the descriptions of Brahman. Again, the subject matter is from an absolute point, Haresh. All the definitions here is from an absolute standpoint. So that way you will not find any great difficulty because it is from the standpoint of Brahman. Because Brahman is a supreme abode, means everything rests in Brahman, supreme purifier, describing of the state of Brahman, which is man minus vasanas equals God, that state of vasana-lessness. The eternity is something which existed in the past, which exists today, which exists in the future. Eternity. You did not exist before you were born. There will be a time in the future you wouldn't exist. I would cease to exist. But Brahman existed before I existed. It exists now. It will exist after me. It's eternal. Past, present, future. It is the primeval God, means it is the source of all beings. It has caused, I am responsible for everything. Unborn, Brahman doesn't die. It is all pervading. Anything which is all pervading means has no form, formless. So anybody who worships a God with a form should realize that he should go beyond that to reach the state of formless reality. An idol is only a means to get to the ideal. Ideal is this, which is formless. Now Arjuna, as I said, he claims, as it says, all the sages claim thee, also the divine sages, and you yourself say so. You with me, Harish?
Yes.
14. सर्वमेतद्धृतं मन्ये यन्मां वदसि केशव न हि ते भगवन् व्यक्तिं विदुर्देवानदानवाः सर्वमेतद्धृतं मन्ये यन्मां वदसि केशव न हि ते भगवन् व्यक्तिं vidurdevanadānavāha. I regard all this that you say to me as true, O Keshava. Verily, O blessed Lord, neither the gods nor the demons know your manifestation. Arjuna is continuing to speak here. Now here Arjuna addresses Krishna as, O blessed Lord, O Bhagavan. Now Bhagavan title is conferred to those who possess 6 qualities. Only those who have 6 qualities, they are conferred the title of Bhagavan. What are the 6 qualities? The first is prosperity. Second is dispassion. Third is virtue. The fourth, they are renowned. The fifth, they are glorious. The sixth is they have wisdom. I repeat, Bhagavan title is conferred to those who have these 6 qualities: prosperity, dispassion, virtue. They are renowned. They are glorious. And wisdom. And all these qualities are applicable to Krishna. Therefore, Arjuna addresses him as, O Bhagavan, I regard all this that you say to me as very true. O blessed Lord, neither the gods nor the demons know your manifestation. Gods here refers to the divine introverted people. So the gods can be interpreted as those who are introverted. Gods do not know your manifestation means God cannot be understood intellectually. These fellows are trying to intellectualize God. In a classroom like this, you are trying to Ushama, you people comfortably sit and trying to grasp God into your intellects. You fellows, he says, you cannot understand God. Even the most brilliant intellect in this classroom, even online, cannot understand God. Can't. He's saying God is not a concept which can be grasped with an intellect. Therefore, he says, you gods don't know your manifestation. Obviously, you'll say the demons, Danavaha. Danavas are the sons of Danu, the Rakshasa. So the unrighteous, extroverted people who are the sensualistic and the materialistic people, obviously they don't understand Brahman. So when he says, no, the gods nor the demons know your manifestation, he means the introverted people who are intellectualizing God, the extroverted people who are unfit to understand God, they do not understand. They don't have experience of Brahman. In fact, what are the scientists doing? Venkatji, are you there? Yama, you got it, no? How does he know devas or demons don't understand God? He is only parroting.
I'm there.
Is parroting what he heard. Yama. Okay. Yeah, Venkatji.
Yes, Guruji, I'm there. I have some problem with my bandwidth, so that's why I put off the video today.
Yeah, you have a problem with your video. We have a problem with your audio. Same problem, no problem. But we can hear you very clearly. Now the question
Thank
I'm
you.
asking is, here he says at the very end, the gods nor the demons know your manifestation. Now, to this, I'm asking, what are the scientists trying to do? What are scientists trying to always try to do? Are they not trying to know the origin of this world? How did the world come about?
Yes. Yes.
And how are they trying to do that?
They're also trying to figure it out with science, as well as also looking out whether there was a superpower or something which actually created whatever it is existing.
But will they find the cause of creation that way? What I'm trying to get at is the scientists, the objective scientists. I should write on the board. One side, you write objective scientists. Other side, you write subjective scientists. Illala. Just go to the next page. On left side, you write objective scientists. On the right side, you write subjective scientists. Now, who are the objective scientists, Venkatji?
Objective scientists. Okay.
Who are they? The objective scientists, they are the
Are trying
scientists.
to, yeah, they are trying to find out through logic, through science, the existence of the superpower or the evolution of whatever it is.
Correct. So they are using logic and reason. They are trying to understand the origin of the world by understanding the world. They are studying matter, isn't it?
Yes.
Give me. Thanks. So the objective scientists, they're studying matter. So they go to the matter, they go to the smallest particle. They're blowing an atom into atom is small or molecule is small. So they break a molecule into an atom, and they broke an atom into 85 parts. And then say there's a neutron, electron, proton, positron, wattron, something, tron. They're going round and round and round. They're breaking the particle to the smallest particle, and they're trying to go to the origin, where it starts from. And here in this verse he's saying, you cannot know my origin this way, because what are they studying? What is the word that is used in the verse? They are trying to understand the origin by trying to understand the manifestations. Not possible. You're trying to find the cause through the result. You're trying to get to the origin, who created through the creation. How you're going to the very smallest particle of the world to say, where did it come from? Impossible. He says, the gods nor the demons. You're trying, that's what I'm saying, intellectualizing. We are trying to intellectualize Brahman. You cannot do it. Then how do you know the origin of the Brahman? The subjective scientists are the rishi, are the sages, the wise people. So how are they trying to get to the cause of Brahman? The cause of the world. What's the cause of the world? These people, they are not studying the manifestation. Huh? There's a difference between the objective scientists who are studying the manifestation and the subjective scientists who are studying for the rishis. What are they studying? What's the cause? In the previous verse, what did Arjuna say? You are the primeval God. What is the creation of the world? They say the reason for the world is this is the only way you get to the cause of the world. Avidya. So you cannot find out God through outward way. You will only understand God. Rajima, keep that please for a minute, please. You will only understand God by going inward through the subjective scientists. And the knowledge which addresses the avidya, you get to the self. The wise are trying to understand yeah, the real, because you're using the word manifest, the subjective people are trying to deal with the unmanifest. These people are caught up with the manifested world. But they're just dealing with the known. They're dabbling with the known. But the rishis are dealing with the unmanifest, the unknown. They're getting to that. Yeah, pashyati sapashyati. He amongst us sees it, sees it. Whether you see it or not, I don't know. See, Arjuna is saying, we do not know to what extent he sees when he's saying it. I am saying, I don't know to what extent I see what I'm saying. You are nodding your head. I don't know to what extent you see what you're nodding head. I do not know. All of us are on the same boat. Avidya is common amongst all of us. So when he says that gods cannot understand Brahman, it is not an intellectualization. So by mere dabbling with the ideas, you can't capture God. You can't understand God through extroverted pursuits. So how do you understand God? How do you understand God? They understand that the manifested world has got nothing to do with unmanifested cause. They understand that the snake has got nothing to do with the rope. Hold on, there's no snake there. I have projected a snake. What do we say? The world is a projection of your own mind. Don't we say that? Yashima, we say that. It's all in your own mind. You have created it. There's no reality of the world. All your own creation, my own creation. Yes, Venkatji, the only way it's not by understanding the self. Again, when you say understanding, it's not an intellectual idea. The real realization of the self happens only when the impurities that separates you from the self are taken care of. When you remove the impurities, so the real becoming of the self happens when one addresses or deals with that which separates you. What separates you from your God is your own desires, is your own ignorance in the form of your desires and ego. So when that barrier between you and God is separated, that is when you become Brahman. Because one of the definitions of God is vasanalessness, desirelessness. To that extent, when the vasanas and desires are reduced, to that extent you are closer to Brahman. So that is the sadhana for you, that's a sadhana for me, sadhana for all of us. One is so all this knowledge is only to help us develop the intellect so that I can checkmate my mind whenever my mind starts playing tricks at me or does tandava on me. My mind can do whatever it wants to. So to put it in its place, I need to have somebody to deal with it. If the parent is trying to discipline the child, the parent must be disciplined and strong enough to discipline the child. If the parent himself is indisciplined, how can he discipline the child? Impossible. So the parent must be strong, the intellect is strong. So all this study to the fact that you all in this classroom, you all have, what have you done? Pushpama, the fact that you have sat in this classroom, what have you done for this 1 hour 15 minutes? Don't tell me I slept. I know you didn't sleep.
Concentrating.
I know you were concentrating, but what have you done?
Could understand to some extent.
You are trying to understand to whatever extent, some extent, full extent, you are giving your best. But what are you doing in the process? Amma, what has gone somewhere? Huh? Somewhere has gone somewhere. I'm pulling it back here. Trauma am I pulling it? What has gone somewhere? Mind, one is ingo bird. But what are you trying to do? The fact that you all have sat through this is you're trying to, the intellect has been churned, isn't it? You're trying to exercise the intellect. So the end result is what happened. The intellect is getting sharpened, polished. How much you understand, how much you don't understand is not the point. That is not the point. The fact that you are in this classroom, the fact that you're applying yourself, the fact that trying to decode these terms and trying to make sense of it, put them in its perspective, is the intellect being used. Imagine if you did not do this, the intellect is in cold storage, inactive. No exercise. Because the only thing that engages the intellect is this knowledge. Everything is just intelligence, information gathering. There is no information gathering, even though you jot down scribble some notes, but the real thing is you're trying to connect that intellectual exercise. And the result of that is, the benefit of that is, you will be able to deal with you will be able to deal with your mind and its desires and its disease attachments. Handle the mind. And once the mind is dealt, once the desires reduced, that is when that's how you become closer to Brahman. See, the result is that it's not how intellectual you are. It's like some of us may not be as articulate as we wish it to be, but that doesn't matter. It's not how articulate you are of these ideas, but whether you are applying yourself. Like everybody who is healthy doesn't necessarily mean he must become a gym instructor or a yoga guru, no? It doesn't necessarily mean that. But I am healthy. You don't have to be articulate to be able to convey that knowledge to others. But I am benefiting the rewards of doing exercise. I may not run a business of doing yoga or be a gym instructor. I'm only saying be healthy. So you do it. So the fact that you are able to do it The result is you're able to keep your mind under control. Many people are not able to keep their mind under control. So an unknown benefit is just by being in the satsang and doing the sadhana, quietly your mind is being, automatically the mind calms down, mellows down. And also you have enough strength to say, shut up to the mind. And the mind will listen to you. When you say keep quiet, the mind will keep quiet, because a powerful intellect is directing the mind to do so. It will not misbehave.
As the mind, as the intellect gets sharpened, you are able to uproot the disease much
Easier.
faster.
Uproot it, correct.
Uproot it. Instead of we are not cutting at the,
Not cutting at
we are
the,
getting deeper into it to remove and possibly remove vasanas. Because we are have given the tool which is being sharpened again and again.
correct.
And we are ready at any time. So when something hits us, we are able to say, no, I don't need this. That way we are becoming much more in the path.
Absolutely. As we said, uproot the vasanas, it has immense benefits. Immense benefits. That's why, in fact, Pushpama, once she was telling, oh, I don't want to attend Upanishad class because I don't understand. I said, please come not to understand. I don't want you to come to understand anything. By not understanding, you're actually exercising intellect more. In fact, when you understand, I know what he's saying, switch off. Correct? Gayatri Ma? I know everything he's saying, switch off the intellect. When somebody says something which you don't understand, you're exercising intellect more. That's the reason the Shastras speak language of contradiction. They only contradict themselves to make you think. Job starts there, correct? In fact, job is going full flow. Right path. So if you have come to the classroom and not understood anything, that means you have done your job successfully. The Guru also, his job is done very, very well. No clarity he delivered. Thank God. You may be cursing the Guru, but we said, no, don't judge your superiors. The Guru has done his job very well. Removal of avidya is a continuous process. Sir, I'll give an example. Sir is asking here, what is the time frame for removing avidya? He's a very practical man. You are sitting on the stage and talking impractical. He wants practical answer. He wants to attain moksha very soon. So, Pushpama also is in queue. I also want to attain very soon, because they say, I don't have much time with me. I want to attain moksha very soon. Pretty soldiering and no time. My time may be ending sooner than you. Who is to say whose time is ending soon? Now, Swami Ramatirtha talks of an example. He gives an example. He says, imagine there is a still pond. And the pond or the sheet of water has got a thick mantle, the green mantle or the moss that grows. That lake or that body of water has been abandoned for quite long, a thick mantle. The water beneath is crystal clear, a thick layer mantle. If you want to see your reflection in that sheet of water, what will you do? What when a fellow does, he plunges both his hands into the water and he pushes aside the mantle. What will happen? You know that the water is clear beneath. You clearly see your reflection, but very soon the mantle again covers up. Isn't it? Because the thick mantle, it will cover up. You get a glimpse of yourself for a few seconds when it's covered. That's one way. But what Swami Ramatirtha says, you want to get a permanent vision of yourself, start taking out that mantle little by little. So what I do, I put my hand into that water and collect as much of mantle I can and start taking it out. As I take out, again the mantle gets covered, the water gets covered with mantle. What I do, put hand and keep taking out. Keep doing it until the mantle becomes such a thin layer exists where it doesn't hold. The film is too thin. It can't hold. It doesn't have elasticity to hold itself. It separates. Once it separates, you get a permanent vision of yourself. As long as the mantle is there, You got to keep removing the mantle. So as long as there are vasanas and desires, you keep doing the sadhana. There is no other way. Go back to the previous class where I said 95% is karma bhakti jnanam. 95%. I don't know where you are in the spiritual ladder, sir. You should know where you are. I know where I am. So you all should know where you are in the ladder from 0 to 100. I exactly know where I am. You should know where you are. So then you have no anxiety. Okay, I need to continue to keep putting my work and sadhana. And as you keep doing it, you automatically you get that, quality control. Nariya quality control varum. Like in the previous verses, couple of verses we learned. What are the two words it uses? Tushanti, ramanti. You are contented and you revel. One of the qualities that I'm referring to. So many such qualities come and assure you that yes, what I'm doing is right. And yes, I am actually evolving to where I was 3 months ago, 6 months ago. I am transforming myself. I'm a transformed person. And then you only intensify the sadhana. But never ask how long. That's a wrong question you ask. That only shows not that you are having it. I'm just answering. When somebody asks how long, that shows an anxiety for the fruit. Karma phala. Karma phala erkodadu. Do your karma. Keep doing your sadhana. When you're ready for it, it will happen. Why? It may be tomorrow, next moment. Or it may be 10 janmas. Why worry about it? You get it? The accent should be in doing tapas and sadhana. And you keep enjoying, reaping the rewards constantly. But anxiety vandana, then gone. Work suffers, fruit doesn't come. No favor. No vigata jvaraha. The Gita it tells, no. Karmanyeva adhikaratte ma phaleshu phala. Okay. Right. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Guru Harihi Om.